Inline skating. Are you ready for it? It'll be hot.
Way too hot.
It'll be fast.
I don't know who's going to win today.
I don't even dare say.
Well, I'd like to win.
I think it's going to be a toss-up.
Inline racing, you never know until the finish.
You're tuned in to the High Adventure Inline Series, coming to you from Lake Compounce Theme and Entertainment Complex in Bristol, Connecticut. Today's event is the WCAT Roll-Off, featuring men's and women's elite racing, plus 100-meter sprints, slalom skating, and more. Today's exciting action is brought to you by K2, maker of a full range of inline skates, including the 2 Extreme and Extreme Speed inline speed skates. And by Gatorade. Remember, life is a sport, so drink it up. And by GMC Trucks. Remember to visit your GMC truck dealers today. And by Lake Compounce, Connecticut's hot new entertainment complex. Hello from Bristol, Connecticut, and another in the High Adventure Inline Race Series. I'm Mike McCready, along with Lisa Feinberg, bringing you all of today's exciting race action from the WCAT Roll-Off, which is a New York Point Series race, which means there'll be fast times from teams and individuals. Right, Lisa?
Well, the New York Series always draws some of the best racers in the country because the best racers are often from New York City. But the teams are the key today, and there are some very strong teams here in force with their ringers.
All right, we've got super fast teams, and we'll be following them closely from every angle. Now, how about the individuals? What are we looking at there?
Well, if I were to pick one guy, I'd have to put my money on John Intervina. He's one of the best guys in the country. He's a member of Team Geo Rollerblade, so the rest of his team is going to be pulling him up. However, Jimmy Wiederhold's been winning a few races this year. He's from Team K2, and I think those two guys are going to be duking it out.
All right, we'll be seeing a really exciting race today, and when we return, Lisa will be taking us on a course preview. So stay with us on the High Adventure Inline Series.
Vince, that new dummy cam is great.
Yeah, it'll sure give people a whole new outlook on what it's like when you don't wear a safety belt.
I think they'll get the picture.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
This is where I live. There are lots of doctors and machines for me and the other kids. Last week, a guy named Mike came. He took us all on a camping trip.
Mike gives up a weekend a month to help a disabled child, but he gets back a feeling that lasts forever.
When I get better, you know what? I'm gonna take Mike fishing.
To find out what you can do in your community, call the Points of Light Foundation. Do something good. Feel something real.
You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series from Bristol, Connecticut and the WCAT Roll-Off. It's time now to go to Lisa for a course preview.
I'm standing at the start of this race today. It's a 10-kilometer race, which means 2 laps around the circle. Now, unlike the other races we've seen, this is not a rolling start. The skaters will come up right to this line here, and on the gun, they're going to be off. But it's not the sprint off the line that's important today. It's how you get in your tuck, because before you know it, you're going to be going 30 miles an hour. Now, as the skaters come off the hill, they're going to hit this line right here, and this is key. The pavement changes from very smooth to very rough. As soon as they cross the line, it's going to feel like glue is grabbing at their wheels. You're going to see a little stumbling, and it's going to get tricky. Now, in addition to the rough pavement, the skaters have 2 other things to contend with at this end of the course. First of all, the lanes are very narrow. They only have 1 lane of traffic that they can contend with. The second problem is the turns. They go both ways, 90 degrees to the right, 90 degrees to the left, and there's lots of them. That's a disadvantage for the track skaters that always go one way. If you think 90-degree turns are bad, they turn around on a cul-de-sac, just like at the end of your neighborhood, but they'll be crossing over at about 30 miles an hour. It sure is hot out here today, but when you come around the turn back into the Lake Compounce area, you feel like you got smooth sailing because this pavement sure is sweet. But as soon as you come around that turn, look at this hill, man, this is work. 2 parts to this course, the heat and the hills.
We're just about ready for the start of the women's elite race after our course preview. Now, this is the first time we've had a separate elite women's race, and who's our favorites today, Lisa?
Well, I think there's really one favorite that everyone's gunning for, Heather Lacayo. She lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, made the trip east for this race. She was a member of the world team in '92, and she is one of the strongest 10K skaters out there.
And there's our standing start for the WCAT Bristol, Connecticut roll-off. We're underway here, and right out to an early lead, looks like Heather Lacayo is moving into her familiar position in front.
Well, for this type of race, you want to be in the lead right off the top because as soon as you start, you're going downhill, and you're going downhill fast. Right now, the skaters are going at, let's get the read, 32 miles an hour right off the start line as they come out of the Lake Compounce area. Coming right down the very steep hill in a good, tight draft line with Heather Lacayo in front. Heather Lacayo has been one of the top women's speed skaters since 1992, and she's the kind of person who knows her limits. In fact, at one point, Speed Skating Times ranked her the #1 skater in the country. Now, when you have experience like that, you know what you've got in you, then it's just a matter of figuring out what everyone else has in them. So at this point, she is just keeping a very steady pace and waiting to see what the other racers are going to do. Okay, we're following our leader, Heather Lacayo, with a draft line behind her through this twisty and windy course on a very hot day today. And with some rough pavement out there as well. They're in that section now, aren't they, Lisa? As soon as you come out of the Lake Compounce area, the pavement gets rougher and rougher and rougher. It's a relatively flat course, but every time you make a turn, you either get a slight uphill or a slight downhill. Now, the real key, though, is not so much those hills, but the roughness. It really takes a lot more out of you because every stride you make, you have to push off a little harder. Okay, and coming down into our position, we see Heather Lacayo is in the lead, followed by Jennifer Kirsch and Melanie Ramirez right behind her. Lisa? Melanie Rivera is 23 years old from New York City. She's a surprise leader up in the front there in 3rd place. It's going to be tough for her to stay there. She's surrounded by a lot of experienced racers, but again, it's also good experience for her to sit right behind Heather and watch what she does. And speaking of familiar positions, Heather Lacayo still out in front. The rest of the pack following behind her, especially the team High Gear in their familiar position up in the front of the pack, trying to get in, probably establish themselves, keep themselves rested, looking to make a move, I'm sure, at some point around Heather Lacayo. Heather Lacayo stands up out of her tuck for a moment. She's trying to relinquish the lead. She really doesn't want to lead this entire race. All the other girls, they're keying on her. They're trying to sit in right behind her, and she's trying to get rid of the lead right now because she wants to take a break, especially right now as they come back into that hill as they enter the Lake Compounce area. Okay, a shot from the hill as they go up the hill. We see Heather in front, looking for someone to kind of step in and take over that lead, but no one looks like their game today. Melanie Rivera, she takes it. That's the inexperience coming through, actually. Heather's like, I'm out of here. I don't want the lead now. It's actually a very smart move, though, for Heather. This will give her a rest, a break, before they have to do the 2nd lap. Our elite women racers working it up that hill, coming back into the Lake Compounce area, a grueling hill on a very hot day here in this summer day. And as we look at the leaders right now, it's Melody Ramirez on the front, followed by Heather Lacayo, then Jennifer Kirsch, and Debbie LeClaire of Team High Gear. Now, of all the skaters out here, Team High Gear is the one most likely to overtake Heather Lacayo. They have 3 skaters out there. They're all still with the lead pack, and they're all very strong skaters. They can work together to pull each other up. Heather is out there by herself. No one is here from Team Geo Rollerblade except for her. So this is really a solo effort. It's her 1 against 3, basically, in this race. Okay, and as we see these women's elite racers, they're coming down off the hill into the park of Lake Compounce, getting ready for the turnaround. That will be the finish line on the next time around, and they're going through the teardrop turn back out onto the course again. Just like the cul-de-sac at the other end of the course, this teardrop turn is very tight and line is critical. A few crossovers and you can accelerate through it, and Heather Lacayo has done just that. Perfect form, she comes out in front. Okay, our elite women's racers are coming out of the Lake Compounce area on the access road toward that very steep hill with Heather Lacayo in the lead. Heather Lacayo looks like she's starting to concentrate a little bit harder now. She gets the 1-arm swings going. She is actually starting to power forward. She is dropping the rest of the pack.
Now coming up the hill, we see Heather Lacayo working hard on this grueling hill, and it's a very hot day out there. And I noticed none of these athletes are carrying water with them, Lisa.
Yeah, it's unusual that they haven't been drinking yet, although they're concentrating very hard on the race. Now this hill they're on right now, it's only about 100 yards long, but it's very steep. And as they make the turn out of the Lake Compounce area, Lacayo's opened up a 40-yard lead at this point.
Coming down off that hill, Heather Lacayo was resting earlier, but she's really opening up a gap now over that chase pack. Looks like to be about 7 or 8 seconds at this point, with Heather Lacayo looking very strong and smooth out front as she comes around into another one of these 90-degree corners. Now looking back here at the chase pack, we see that right there is Lisa Dernier and Melody Rivera chasing up in the chase pack.
Dernier and Rivera, the two in gray, they're part of a new team from Connecticut that's just getting formed. Lisa Dernier is not usually in the elite group. This is one of the first times we've seen her there, but her brother, Russell, is also an elite skater, so she's definitely an up-and-comer. However, Lacayo right now taking water for the first time. She's got this race under control. She looked very relaxed.
Heather Lacayo taking some water, and I don't know if you happen to see who she was taking it from, but some of the volunteers from our race today are from the local motorcycle club, and they're out there doing their part for their community and helping with the race today. That's in the chase pack, Melody Rivera, followed by Jennifer Kirsch and Debbie Leclerc behind her.
The local motorcycle club is getting a taste of what it's like to be on a different type of wheels, going about 35 miles an hour. Heather Lacayo coming downhill, taking a breather right now.
Looking very smooth out in the front. That's Heather Lacayo coming down the final hill toward the finish line. We take a look back at the chase back, but I'd say at this point in time there is no chance of them catching Heather Lacayo as she comes across to win the WHCN roll-off in Bristol, Connecticut in 19:59 and 9/10 seconds. Heather Lacayo, our winner today.
Not a personal best for Heather, but an incredible race out there by herself. And here comes the final sprint. Second, third, and fourth. That's what the race is now.
We see Debbie Leclerc and Lena Leodotter battling for the finish, and it's Debbie Leclerc from Team High Gear in second place, followed by Lena Leodotter from K2 Blades in third, and that's Jennifer Kirsch from High Gear in fourth.
Just to show you how strong Heather Lacayo is, she won that race by over 1 minute. That is incredible.
That is extraordinary for a 10K. Let's take a minute now and meet some of these winners of today's race.
Right on. Congratulations, man. Good job.
It's just way too intense.
It is.
He protects all living things in the forest. But he can't do it alone. Please don't play with matches. Put out your campfires. And never, ever forget the words of Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
We taught ways to preserve the rainforest. We got an advanced education no university could ever give.
After 30 years of working in business, Peace Corps was a labor of love.
To thousands of Americans, Peace Corps was the memory of a lifetime. Your experience can help you do something memorable.
Their challenge was growing a whole new crop, but my reward was the experience of making a difference.
It was the best experience I ever had.
If you have experience in areas such as forestry, the environment, small business, nursing, health, agriculture, or education, you can build a lifetime of memories in just 2 years. Call Peace Corps, 1-800-424-8580. It's still the toughest job you'll ever love.
You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series, and there's the winner of today's women's elite race, Heather Lacayo. Let's meet her and some of the other winners from today's WHCN roll-off.
Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, way to go.
Thanks.
I would say no sweat, but you look pretty hot.
Yeah, it was hot. I wanted to, force someone else to take the lead so I could get a little bit of a rest. I mean, I was planning on making a break. I had thought before the race that I would try on the uphill, and I wasn't sure if that would work, but I figured, you know, it would take the legs out of the other girls. But I needed a rest before I did that, and I had been in the lead since the beginning, and I thought, you know, if I stay in the lead all the way until I make my break, it's just pointless. You know, that's not smart skating.
I just wanted to catch her so bad.
We wanted to hold on to Heather Lakaya as long as we could. Basically, she's an excellent skater, and we all want to be up there with her, although she's a very strong skater. So when she took off and we couldn't hang on, pretty much of the heat, and she's a little stronger. After that, it's sort of just the technique goes down to like the second and third spot. And basically, I just was racing against teammates.
We climbed the hill coming back towards the finish line, and then at the top of the hill, everyone broke away, and then we just ended up regrouping again, and then saw the finish, and we just all gave it our best and sprinted as hard as we could.
Well, I kept, you know, kind of looking back. I mean, you probably saw me turning my head here and there to look behind me, and there were a couple times when I thought, well, I could let up, and, you know, you race differently depending on who's there, and I didn't think that they got organized enough really to create a chase group where they would switch leads to catch me. So when I glanced back, I could see that that wasn't happening, so I thought, well, I might as well press the pace, you know, myself. So if they had organized a pace group where they were all pulling leads to catch me, I might have backed off and then tried it again a little bit later, but as it was, it worked out well.
There's the winner's point of view from Heather Lacayo, and now we're back inside the Lake Compounce amusement park for the 100-meter sprints, which are taking one heat after another. And the story today, Jason Sepulveda. Let's watch as he wins all his heats to be the champion of today's 100-meter sprints.
To an inline skating race, there's one team that when they show up, everyone pays attention. The team is Geo Rollerblade, and with me are the 3 members of Geo Rollerblade that came to Bristol, Connecticut for this race today. We have Heather Lacayo, Norm Kirby, and John Trevina. Now, you 3 are considered 3 of the top racers in the country. When you come to a race like this race, what are you thinking? Is this just sort of standard procedure, or is it really important for you to win today?
I think it's really important for us to win every day. I mean, you know, to the best that we want to do the best that we can, and we want to make a great showing wherever we are. We want to win, so we want to have a lot of fun too. So that's what we're here for.
Norm, you're pretty tall. He's the only guy on his skates.
Yeah.
Now, when you go out and you're looking at a course, doesn't matter what you're looking at, you, Norm, what are you thinking of? You're here with a team. Do you actually come back and say, okay, you guys, here's the strategy?
Yeah, we pretty much overlook the course, the surface, the hills, and we figure out where the best place is to plan an attack or sit in the pack, just depending on what the course is like. Now, but it's very important.
John, you're from Colorado. Norm, you're from Colorado. Heather, you're from Las Vegas. Yeah. There's lots of hills where you guys live. Now, the hills around here aren't quite like the Rocky Mountains. What do you think of a course like this? Is this hilly for you?
It's got a good hill, and the thing is, it's not a one type of course. You've got a rough spot, you've got a smooth spot, you've got 2 sharp hairpins, you got an uphill and a downhill, so it's really a combination of everything. It's not really one person's kind of race. You've got to be able to race in every one of those conditions.
You guys are, you're the best of the best, okay? When you come to a race like this and you see a really tough course, is that to your advantage because you know you're strong, you know you've trained hard? Norm, John?
Well, I kind of like it because I wish there was a lot more of the competition here, but a lot of people are like at the Sports Fest right now, and I wish they were at this course because this is a course that would really truly define who is one of the top skaters in the world right now. I mean, this course is the hill, the hairpin, all that. I wish that all the competition was here at this race. This was like a Downers Grove, I wish, you know, because this hill, I think this hill and the course would really determine a top racer.
Now, Downers Grove is a national road skating and track skating championships. And when you talk about Downers Grove, is that a race that you guys really focus on?
Downers Grove is the crown of all races. Doesn't get any better than that.
Now, when you talk about it not getting any better than that, you talk about goals. Norm?
The prestige of the championship, the amount of prize money, and just most importantly, saying you have won the National Criterium Championship. It takes precedence over everything.
Now, Heather, in today's race, you're skating by yourself. You skated by yourself. Right. Is it tougher because normally you do work with a team, or do you just tend to fall in with other skaters?
Sometimes you fall in with other skaters. It's a different kind of racing. I don't have to, you know, I like racing both ways. I like racing alone. I also love racing with my teammates, but I don't have to worry about where my teammates are, which they're good. In any case, they position themselves well, but all I have to do is focus on what I'm going to do, and I can go whenever I feel like I'm going to go without worrying that my teammates are positioned in good spots too. So it's a different kind of racing, and it's a lot of fun. I like it both ways.
Okay, Norm, John, you guys have each other today, though.
Yeah.
But there's only two of you. There's other teams from K2. They've got lots of guys, teams from Hyper. How do you deal with them?
Well, it's pretty much, like you say, we're the ones that have the bullseye on us. It's not a matter of team against team. It's team against rollerblade. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. But that's why we are where we are, and we'll just do the best we can do. Hopefully plan the right plan, and hopefully come through with a victory here.
Well, thanks, you guys.
Thank
Good
you,
luck,
George.
not only today, but all the time.
All right,
Back to you,
thank
Mike.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa, and thanks to Team Geo Rollerblade. Stay with us, there's still a lot more ahead on the High Adventure Inline Series, and coming up next is the start of the men's elite race.
He stood about 5'9" tall, but he was a giant. Billy Thomas. He ran the Boys and Girls Club where I grew up. Now, I know today is different. Young people face problems I never even had to think about. But that's why now, more than ever, we need the Boys and Girls Club. It's a positive place where thousands of people like Billy Thomas help young people succeed. Does it work? It did for me. Support the Boys and Girls Clubs.
I never knew my birth parents, but I was lucky. See, I was adopted. I was wanted. I had a home, family, and people around me who loved me. Today, there's a lot of kids that also need to be wanted. They need a family and love and all the things that I had. Adopt a special child. They grow up to be special people.
For more information on adoption, please call 202-328-1200.
Hello. It's time to play Wheel of Misfortune. That's right, the exciting new game show where you bet your freedom against physical torture and abuse. But the problem is, you can't win. Isn't that right, Bill? Yes, sir, that's right. Hey, in 50 countries throughout the world, this is not a game. We here at Amnesty International believe that there's still hope. You can make them aware that we know and they can't play anymore. Stop the game. Join us.
You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series from Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut. We're about to start the men's race, but let's hear what some of the competitors think about the course.
The hill coming up the front straight is going to be where it's won and lost. You're going to see a lot of breaks there. People are going to be taking off.
The team to beat today would probably be Rollerblade. They've got some big guns, Norm Kirby and Jason Sepulveda from K2.
Geo Rollerblade's the toughest. K2 is very tough, and also Hyper. K&M's a tough team also.
It's a specialty kind of course. The ones that are good on the hills are going to press the hills. The ones that are good on the straights are going to hammer the straight, and there's always the ones with the good cornering ability that the hairpins are going to work to their advantage too. So it's a combination of everything. You just got to be on your gun for anybody and their strong point there.
For me, I'm just going to watch for the endurance guys. You know, I got Stan, I got Norm. I'm just going to sit on them the whole way, wait for the last downhill and see if I'm still there. If I'm in the race, which I hope, then I should have something good with a fast sprint. It's going to be really fast coming across the line. We should be hitting about 45 coming across the line today.
And there's the starting gun. We're right into it at the WHCN roll-off in Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut. And look at that pack coming right down that hill, Lisa.
That is a very big pack. Over 50 skaters in the elite men's category today. And you want to be right in the front off the line because you're literally going to go from 0 to 40 in about 100 yards.
Look at these racers flying down that hill as we get underway in our 10K, and right out in front to an early lead, that's Dan Deering.
Well, coming down this pavement here, it's very smooth. It's a very easy start in many ways because you're not sprinting, but they know coming up very quickly there's a big pavement change, and that's where it gets tricky.
Yes, coming down off that hill, hitting high speeds, and now they're jockeying for positions. He was going to take the lead as they go on to this rough pavement and a first tight 90-degree turn.
As we come around the turn, Dan Deering stumbled a little bit and loses the lead. Right at that turn, the pavement goes from very smooth to very rough, and it's just like glue grabbing at your skates, and it makes it very challenging for the skaters. It can actually be very dangerous.
Okay, the lead pack looking to define itself right now, and we have a lot of turns like that on the course today. Very challenging course because it's right, it's left, they're all at 90 degrees. How does that affect the racers, Lisa?
Well, with turns that are that sharp, it's very tricky, especially with this big a pack. If you go into the turn too straight, you're going to come out late and lose your position in the draft line. If you go into the turn too early, then you're going to cut into the draft line, and that could cause a collision.
Well, early in the WHCN roll-off, we see the pack go off in the distance. We mentioned how hot it was, and taking a look at the course conditions today, it is about 90 degrees and very, very humid. The blacktop has a medium-grade aggregate with some rough spots, and the elevation is about 150 feet from start to finish.
One of the trickier parts about this course is the pavement change. When you get into this flat section where the pavement is very rough, wheel choice is very critical. This is something that racers always have to deal with. Do you go with hard wheels? Hard wheels roll faster when it's smoother, but you don't have as much traction when it gets rougher. Today, if you had all hard wheels on, you would be regretting it because you would feel no traction in this part of the course. You want to have a few soft wheels thrown in there so that when you're in the rougher pavement, you can get a grip.
Okay, and we see our pack still trying to form, going down the straightaway, and there's actually, at this point in the course, it's two-way action. They'll be coming back along this same way, and the lead pack still forming. No one really going out on a flyer yet, Lisa.
If you look on the right side, though, John Trevina from Team Geo Rollerblades starting to make a move. He's starting to look at the other skaters, trying to pick up the pace just a little bit. You can see him. He's in the purple and the yellow coming up on the right.
Okay, and as we see up on the left-hand side there, that Pat Quinn is making his move into the lead at this WHCN roll-off.
Patrick Quinn, the first guy to press the pace today. He was the #1 skater coming out of New York City last year. He is always a force to be reckoned with.
Very warm day today at a WHCN roll-off, and there's three people out on a flyer. That's Quinn in the front from K2 Blades, followed by Trevina, and behind him is Sepulveda.
John Trevina, he's from Fort Collins, Colorado. He began skating on quad roller skates like many of his peers in this race, made the switch to inline. He's been in this sport for so long, even his folks are in it. They actually operate an indoor skating rink back home.
And look at the pack coming out of that hairpin turn. That's the point they go out to, and now it's repeating the same course that they did on the way to that point.
That cul-de-sac that they came around is a very important part. There's a lot of guys going around there very fast, and Ian Farrar, the first one to make a move out of the turn. Ian Farrar, one of the few guys out here that's actually making a living at inline skating, but not just by racing. He also works as a model on inline skates.
Ian Farrar steps back. Looks like Remy Chait coming into position.
That move is a classic inline skate move. It's called leading out, where one teammate passes the lead off to the other teammate and then drops back and actually helps block the field to allow his faster guy go out on a flyer.
All right, here we go into another one of those 90-degree turns we keep talking about. Now, most of the time these races turn to the left, but there's twisting and winding. Sometimes they're going right today.
Well, the key here is to be able to make a very powerful crossover and actually accelerate on the turns. And it looks like John Trevina has accelerated past Remy Chait. The two of them are out ahead of the lead pack right now.
And coming down this stretch is Trevina out in front, followed by Chait.
Remy Chait's originally from Oxford, Great Britain. He now lives in New York City, and he's been inline skate racing for several years now. In fact, 2 years ago, he was the #1 guy out of New York. However, at only 19 years old, sometimes he says, you know, maybe I'm getting to be too nice a guy. I just want to pound the other racers into the pavement. Although, right now, he's looking like he wants to really give Trevina a pounding. He's just biding his time.
That's right. Trevina out front and looking strong. Chait coming up behind him at this beautiful WHCN roll-off from Lake Compounce. And Lake Compounce is actually one of the oldest operating amusement parks in the country. It's 150 years old, and this is all part of that anniversary celebration.
Whoever wins the race today will have certain cause for a celebration. This is a very strong field. We'll have to see who wins, though, when we come back for more inline skate racing in Bristol, Connecticut.
Children are the largest group of Americans living below the poverty line. They have to reach higher for what others take for granted. Health care, balanced meals, encouragement to learn. But with help early on, children in your community can gain the skills to get out from below the poverty line. It takes programs like Success by 6 and people like you to help them take the first step. Call to learn more. Change the world of a child, and you change the world.
Remember how good it felt the first time you gave 5? Well, now there's another way to give 5. Set a goal to give more. 5 hours a week and 5% of your income to the causes you care about. It'll make you feel like a winner every day of your life. So give more. Give 5. Call 1-800-55-GIVE-5.
October 1987. A small child is rescued from an abandoned well. No country comes to the aid of a child the way we do. Yet today, millions of children need our help. lost in an education system unable to prepare them for today's competitive world. Imagine if that same effort went into keeping the promise that every child gets the best education and has a future. Call 1-800-96-PROMISE for information on changing the schools in your community.
Because disaster strikes someone every single day, there's always going to be one more night someone needs food, shelter, and a place to rest. Please support the American Red Cross. Because without your help, one more night could be hard to come by.
You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series. Mike McCready along with Lisa Feinberg from the WHCN at Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut. Looking at our leaderboard, we have Chait in front, followed by Trevina and then Arietta.
Remy Chait got into the sport of inline skating because he had a bunch of friends that used to skate in Central Park. He just liked it a lot. Now he takes it very seriously. He trains both short track and long track forms of skating. Now that helps him in two ways. It helps him short track in the turns because he can take these tight 90-degree turns very fast and very well. The long track version, that's the endurance part. He's very good in this length of race, a 10K.
Couple of great shots there of the chase pack following our leaders as they come into the section of the course that is a really challenging uphill.
Well, as they come around that turn, the pavement goes back to smooth. For a very brief moment, all of the racers go, "Ah, that feels so much better." But then they look up and they see this 100-yard Mount Everest, literally. At this point in the race, with this amount of heat, this is what separates literally the men from the boys. This is where this lead pack of 50 skaters is going to start spreading out.
Well, there's 150 feet of up and down in this course, and most of it is right here. And this extremely hot day, we keep mentioning the weather, but it's got to be really tough up this grueling hill, trying to reach deep down inside and keep your pace going.
And one of the things about the heat today is the fact that they're racing on blacktop. Imagine being out on blacktop, giving it your all, giving 100% effort, and meanwhile feeling like you're literally getting cooked.
Our leaders are crossing over the top of the hill, and right there looking back is a second place person. That's Remy Chait in front, and behind him is Trevina. But looking over his shoulder, we see Jason Sepulveda making his move, looking smooth, coming up to these two leaders.
Sepulveda closing the gap on the two leaders based on his excellent technique. Look how low he is in his tuck. There's absolutely no excess upper body movement. It's all power from the waist down. Meanwhile, the two leaders, they're getting a little sway from side to side. They're pushing a little harder. Sepulveda, he's right with him now.
Yeah, the two leaders are feeling it from Sepulveda as they come into this downhill stretch, which is very high speed toward what will be the finish line, but right now it means we're about to come into the bell lap, so we'll be listening for that.
As they come over the crest of the hill, you can see them anticipating this downhill. This downhill is very fast, hitting 40 miles an hour right now, and you still see skaters trying to make a move on the right, trying to sprint ahead, but Trevina well in control, out in the lead. As you come off of this hill, there's only about 100 yards and then a big sweeping turn to the left.
That's an incredible shot coming off that hill. It's so easy to see from when you're on camera. It kind of flattens the hill out. But I was on that hill earlier myself, and I had to make S-turns to come down that. And these guys are actually trying to make time coming down that hill.
It looked like Trevina wanted to get rid of the lead for a moment there. He wants to take a break. He knows they've got to go right back up that hill as soon as they go around the teardrop.
Well, we see the pack starting to get spread out. But right now in front, it's Jonathan Trevina from Team Geo Rollerblade pulling the rest of the pack behind him. Now we'll be listening carefully for the bell because that means it's the bell lap, and we'll be halfway through the race because we're making 2 laps of this course here today at Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut.
Again, at this part of the course, there's a lot of anticipation. As soon as they cross under the finish banner, they have to go into a complete 360-degree turn. Now, they're making this turn at about 30 miles an hour, which is very, very fast. One slight move, you hit one skater even just a little bit wheel to wheel, and you're going down.
Look at the G-forces on that curve, and Norm Kirby right out in front, pulling us pack out toward that hill once again, but really no clear breakout at this point in the race.
Norm Kirby, though, making a very specific move. He wants to be in the lead. And look, Jonathan Trevina comes out on the right side, slips in behind him about 3 racers back. This is classic Geo Rollerblade. They are setting up for something right now.
A reminder that this is a 2-way race course. In the background, you can hear Steve Novak, race director and official, reminding everybody that it is 2-way, and there's people coming the other way on racer left, our right.
Well, that explains part of the Geo Rollerblade plan. At this point, they only have 1 lane to work with, which makes it very difficult to pass. And coming into this hill, they all know that the hill is what's going to make or break. It's literally like heartbreak hill in the marathon, and whoever can pull ahead coming up this hill is going to have a huge advantage coming down the backside.
Okay, in the background there we see Jairo Ballesteros trying to advance his position, but right now it's Norm Kirby in front, and this WHCN roll-off on a grueling hot day, and coming into that hill, that's what they're all thinking on of their minds right now.
This is a classic Norm Kirby position to be in. Kirby always has a burning desire to win, but it's not only for himself, it's also for his team. And in this case, his teammate is John Trevina. Kirby, you will often see sacrificing his results for someone else. So we'll have to see how they work it out in this race.
We'll have to hear how it comes together. In the back, that's Tom Keene, our in-race announcer, following along in the chase pack. But back in the front, coming up that hill, 150-foot climb is Norm Kirby. And there's Sten Seaman making a move on the right side, trying to find his way. He's not moving to the front, looking to get back inside that draft line, find his position, but it's very competitive. A lot of people vying for those front spots there.
Now, they might be going uphill, and they might be going very fast, but they're also sticking very tight together, because every racer in that lead pack knows that as soon as they crest the hill, they're going to be going about 40 miles an hour, and they want to be just as tight to each other as they can.
All right, we'll be seeing the pace start to pick up here, because they're coming up over the top, and the people have been bunched together, people looking to see who's going to take the lead, but as we come down into this hill, it'll give a chance for people to take a rest and go streaking at probably close to 30, 40 miles an hour.
And in the lead right now, probably the oldest guy in the race, Roland McVicker at 38 years old. He's one of the Masters racers out here, but he is very fast. He's the first one to drop into his tuck.
Wow, look at that speed as they come down off that hill, getting word that they're 38, almost 40 miles per hour at that stretch, just down in a tuck and just flying down that hill at the WHCN roll-off.
Now remember, at the bottom of this hill, they have a 90-degree turn to the left, and the pavement changes. That's where it gets rough. This is perhaps the trickiest part of the entire race.
And as we see them come into that corner, if I remember correctly, there's even a little bit of traffic wear in that corner, which makes it even more slick for these racers coming through at their high speed, and what a perfect line.
It's amazing to see how many men are still in that lead pack. There's still at least 30 guys jammed right in there, and each one of them wants to win this race. But out in front right now, still Norm Kirby.
That's Norm Kirby in front. Behind him, Jason Sepulveda with that unmistakable smooth style. And another pack trying to form to our view from the right here. It looks like K2 making a move up on the right side. But still, no clear leader in this very exciting race.
At this point, remember, the pavement has gotten a lot rougher. The skaters are also very tired because this is their second time around. At this point, every push-off feels like glue. Your wheels, you really feel them sticking to the pavement, plus there's the fatigue factor. This is what's going to really show who's fit and who's not.
And who's up to the task today here at the WHCN roll-off. We see the pack starting to stretch out a little bit, a few people being left behind, but it's mostly still a very tight front pack with almost anyone being able to pull it off. Our leader there is Dan Daring, the redhead, along with Rob Kramer from Team Can-Am, which is a regional team from Vermont. Great to see them in the lead.
It's impressive that they are in the lead. They're often with the lead pack, but to be in the lead with national champions behind them is very impressive.
It's still anyone's race, so stay with us from Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut.
Your approach is looking good, Cobra.
The men and women in the National Guard and Reserve face some tough challenges when they serve. Challenges that teach them discipline, leadership, and technical skills that make them better employees. So when they need time off to serve, don't make their toughest challenge approaching you.
My hero, Isaiah Thomas, Kevin Costner, Mr. Wong.
These are teachers, but to the kids they've reached, they're heroes.
My hero, Mrs. Wooten. If I don't get through to that child, who knows, maybe no one else will.
Teachers have the power to wake up young minds, to be heroes, to make a difference. Reach for that power. Teach. Find out how by calling 1-800-45-TEACH. Be a teacher. Be a hero.
I don't know, I'm missing something there.
This is New Guinea.
It's so powerful.
I don't see it.
I'm having an out-of-decade experience. I was walking and came upon a fountain which bore the sign, "Don't drink the water."
Do you get
the beggar
this?
carries a
Isn't
sign
it
saying, "I'm
fantastic?"
blind." What does this poem mean to me? It's like a collage of images.
Let's face it, not every cultural activity appeals to everyone.
Finding an oasis.
So we're giving you something everyone likes. A choice.
That's why 23,000 arts and humanities groups are inviting you to find something you can get excited about. Just call for a free brochure about what's going on in your community.
I think I'm getting into this.
They're tuning up.
The arts and humanities, there's something in it for you. There's a lot going on in your community. For a free brochure on how to get involved, call our toll-free number.
You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series from Lake Compounce and Bristol, Connecticut, the WCAT roll-off. Mike McCready, along with Lisa Feinberg, and what an exciting race we've had here today.
One of the reasons why this race is so exciting is because no one has really dominated it. Jonathan Trevina might be in the lead right now, but it's really anybody's race. You know, in the past, one guy, maybe two guys, had the whole thing under control from the start, but no way today.
Well, looking a little further back in the pack, that's Tom Keene, followed by Jack Irving from K2 Motion Sports in Boston, doing their best to make a move toward the front. And Tom Keene looking pretty strong right there. We'll be looking for him to move further up in the pack. Now, by going back into the front, we still have John and Trevino in the lead, followed by Jason Sepulveda, who's looking very relaxed, really pulling some draft there right now, Lisa.
John Trevina, he doesn't want to stay in the lead for too long at this point in the race. Remember, they're on the final lap. The strongest part of Trevina's game is his lightning fast sprint at the end. Now, if he expends too much energy right now, he won't have enough left.
Now you see someone from another team, I can't quite see from there, trying to block out that and the trying to block out Patrick Quinn as he makes a move, but he gets around him and makes a move to the front anyway. Patrick Quinn making a statement, making a strong move toward the lead at the WHCN roll-off.
At this point in the race, every time you see a straightaway, someone is going to try and press the pace because if they can make a break at this point and carry it around the turn, it's going to give them a little bit of an edge.
Patrick Quinn in the lead, making a strong move to the outside. That is, who's that, Lisa? I can't quite see from here.
Jimmy Wiederhold coming up on the left. He takes the lead. He powers ahead. Very important part of the race because they're coming into the teardrop turn.
This is a most narrow turn, and it's a complete hairpin turn all the way around, and the track skaters will really have an advantage here, won't they?
Well, Jimmy Wiederhold, he comes from a family of roller skaters that's indoor on the track, but last year he made the world team for the first time. He qualified for the team in the 42K, but then in the Pan Am Games he got seventh in the 10,000 meter. This is almost like a 10,000 meter, it's just on the road.
Okay, looking for someone to take the lead right now, but we just got lead from back in the pack on that hairpin turn. One of the favored racers, Jason Sepulveda, went down hard. He's back up and skating, but right now he's not looking like he's going to be in the lead pack for a while.
Sepulveda will be very disappointed. He won 2 races ago. He was expecting to win today. He was definitely one of the favorites coming into this race. He knows the Geo Rollerblade guys. He used to be on that team before he switched to K2 Blades, and this is going to be tough on him.
The race is about 3/4 of the way through, and we can see them twisting and turning through those 90-degree turns, and that's Norm Kirby reestablishing himself right out in the front for Team Geo Rollerblade.
Now they're on the final stretch coming back towards Lake Compounce, and this is a key thing for Kirby. Think of Kirby as the domestique of Team Geo Rollerblade. In bike racing terms, he's the guy that's going to pull his teammate along and then at the very end relinquish the lead, because remember, Trevina, he's the sprinter.
Okay, well, yeah, Norm's doing his job because Trevina's right in behind him there, and their legs must be really feeling it on that uneven pavement. They're almost past 3/4 of the way through the race, and they're really got to be feeling it at this point.
Well, Norman Kirby, he is in excellent condition. He's roller skated on quad skates since he was a teenager. He switched to inlines because he knew they were the wave of the future, and he uses his knowledge from quad racing to quickly move to the top of the inline skating scene. And right now, he has quickly moved to the top of this race.
And that's Norm in the front and behind. We see the pack is really starting to stretch out now as these pros and their draft lineup at the front really start to stretch out a gap between them and maybe the 5th place back.
Well, this is where you see where the fitness and the training come in. And the 2 guys from Team Geo Rollerblade, Jonathan Trevina and Norm Kirby, are certainly 2 of the more fit guys out there. But today they have to deal with Jimmy Wiederhold. Wiederhold right between them right now. Wiederhold, also an excellent sprinter. He is one that they are worried about.
Okay, Wiederhold in that between that 2nd position between the 2 Geo Rollerblade. And remember, his teammate, Jason Sepulveda, went down hard, so he's working alone right now as they come around toward that hill once again, which will take them down to the finish.
You know, it's funny, Jimmy Wiederhold, when you meet him in person, he's a really small guy. He's 5'8", 130 pounds, very quiet, but when you get him on his skates, man, he is a competitor. He says it's a one-man sport, you against everybody else.
Another one of those 90-degree turns as Jimmy Wiederhold comes up pretty close to Norm Kirby there and actually touches him in the back, which remember, that is legal in this sport as long as you don't interfere with the progress of the forward motion of the skater. Now they're starting to really come up toward this hill.
They're back in the Lake Compounce area. The pavement is very smooth. There's 4 guys in the lead pack right now. Jonathan Trevina, Jimmy Wiederhold, Norm Kirby, and the 4th guy, Robert Meyer, only 15 years old, out of New York.
Well, Mr. Meyer looking strong and using some good strategy because he's down low and following those 3 superstars up toward the finish line. He could make a move at any time.
Robert Meyer is almost a superstar himself. He was 3rd 2 months ago at the Men's National Bank Championships in the junior division. He's also broken 16 minutes in a 10K, which is exceptionally fast. And as long as he stays tight to those top 3 guys, he could make a move coming off that sprint and win this race.
Okay, coming up the hill there, we see from Team K2, that's Roland Arrieta and Remy Chait. And looking behind these 4 leaders, there's a quick glimpse back there. That is Jason Sepulveda, who's come up from his fall, worked with his teammates, and come all the way back up and is currently in 5th position.
This is a very tricky moment for Team Geo Rollerblade. Norm Kirby in the front cannot talk to Jonathan Trevina without telling Jimmy Wiederhold what the plan is going to be. So at this point, the hope is these 2 guys have skated together enough so they can literally read each other's minds and get a sense of what the other's going to do. Norman, he's either got to move right or left to let Trevina get by.
Okay, at this point in time, a long downhill and a fast downhill and a little bit of a sprint to the finish is all that stands between victory and where these racers are right now.
All 4 of those men are thinking, I want this victory. Geo Rollerblade is controlling this victory right now, but Wiederhold and Meyer, they're just waiting for one little opening.
At this point in the 10K from Bristol, Connecticut, 1st place is Kirby, 2nd place Wiederhold, then it's Trevina and Meyer. Any of these people could take it, so stay with us on the High Adventure Inline Series.
Janine woke up in a cold sweat with one thing echoing through her brain. Who was this guy in her bathroom?
Meanwhile, Barry was thinking, whose bathroom am I in?
Janine remembered going to the party the night before and getting smashed out of her mind.
Barry remembered getting drunk and acting really stupid.
Eventually.
The whole evening came back.
Oh, I must be really stupid.
I must be really dumb.
What did I do? How did I get myself into this?
Well, what did I do? How did I get myself into this?
What about AIDS? Then they both realized, much to their relief, that unlike the rest of us,
they were just cartoons.
Get high,
get stupid,
get AIDS.
Your first time as a Junior Achievement Elementary School volunteer can be a little scary. Can you get kids that young to think about their futures? Call us about volunteering, and you'll see. We'll supply you with training for this new program, and the kids will supply plenty of motivation.
So, whose influence on you wonder?
You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series and the exciting conclusion of the men's 10K elite race from Bristol, Connecticut in the WHCN roll-off. In the front right now, that's Norm Kirby, followed by James Wiederhold, and behind him, Jonathan Trevina and Rob Meyer.
They're traveling about 42 miles an hour right down the hill, and it looks like Norm Kirby starting to stride out. Robert Meyer makes the break from the right, starting to sprint. The rollerblade guys chasing after him. Wiederhold, though, coming up on the left.
James Wiederhold in the front, followed by Rob Meyer. Geo Rollerblade teammates working together, but it may be too late for them to catch Jim Wiederhold as he strides and making ground on those corners. Look at the power in his stride. The 4 of them bursting toward the finish line. Right now it's James Wiederhold in the lead, followed by Rob Meyer stride for stride with Jonathan Trevina. Crossing the line is James Wiederhold in 17:29 and 10 seconds, followed by Rob Meyer 17:29 and 4/10, followed by Jonathan Trevina at 17:29 and a half.
Robert Meyer distracted the 2 pros, and Jimmy Wiederhold took full advantage. He got the victory.
Let's see what some of these winners had to say about today's exciting WHCN roll-off.
Oh man, I was way behind. It was fast hill and real smooth right there, and the finish line came really fast.
It was an exciting finish. Coming down the hill, I felt I was in the right place to make a break, so I was in 4th. I jumped out, went to the front, and only one person passed me at the end for the sprint, so I ended up in second.
Since I had 6 guys here for my Team K2 blades, I figured we could maybe work on Geo, have them chase while I sit and wait to the finish, so I wouldn't have to use my energy, so I could, you know, have the energy for the end of the race.
I knew that being with the leaders from the beginning would be important because it was a very fast track, and there was a lot of fast people in the race, so I knew it would be important.
I don't know, I don't think I had it. I think I did a little bit too much work during the race and came down the final sprint, and I had it, but I didn't, and I just don't know what happened. Just some things go your way and sometimes just don't go your way.
So we're coming down that hill. I wanted John to break at the crest, and instead we just kept single file line down the hill right before the finish line. I knew it was going to come to a scramble. All of a sudden I saw dart here, and the 2 shot, and I went over this way hoping John would chase on Jimmy, and instead John chased on the other guy, and I was like, oh no. So it was basically, I did my work in the race, was trying to help my teammate, and that's the sacrifice you give. You gotta, you know, be willing to give it up to help the other, and it just didn't go our way this time.
That's the perspective from today's top 4, but there's Jason Sepulveda, who didn't have such a good day. He went down hard, still managed to finish 5th, but we caught up with him to see what happened.
We were coming around the last, for the last straight, the last final stretch around the last turn, and we were going kind of quick, and it was just so quick. I don't know if like my feet got clipped out from under me, and then I was just down. Got up as quick as I could and finished 5th.
Go! Power team, K2 blades, yeah!
She is one of America's toughest drug enforcement agents. Last year, she helped convict 90 drug dealers, seize several tons of crack and marijuana, and close down 10 major drug operations. She is a 68-year-old grandmother named Irma. She set up a community drug watch that is not only changing her neighborhood, but its future. There are many ways to help in your community. Call the Points of Light Foundation. Do something good. Feel something real.
October 1987. A small child is rescued from an abandoned well. No country comes to the aid of a child the way we do. Yet today, millions of children need our help, lost in an education system unable to prepare them for today's competitive world. Imagine if that same effort went into keeping the promise that every child gets the best education and has a future. Call 1-800-96-PROMISE for information on changing the schools in your community.
That's my dad. And that's Mom. Dad's got an idea. A way to get rid of all the grody garbage that's polluting the world. He's invented a big rocket ship to shoot all the garbage into outer space. Mom's not sure, but Dad says his invention will save the world.
There's an easier way to save the world. Recycle. For your free recycling action guide, write Recycle. Environmental Defense Fund, 257 Park Avenue South, New York, New York.
You don't have to embarrass a friend to keep her from drinking and driving. You could just explain things to her.
It's 6:45 and our party's at 9 and I still got shopping to do. But if you drive, you'll have to drop me off and pick me up and then I'll be late and you won't be ready. So I'm going to drive and drop you off and then we're going to do all the things I need to do and I'll be back in time to help you set things up. Okay? All right.
Take the keys, call a cab, take a stand. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series in the WHCN roll-off from Bristol, Connecticut in the Lake Compounce Amusement Park. Mike McCready along with Lisa Feinberg bringing you all of today's action, which has predominantly been a women's and men's 10K elite race. But right there we just saw the 1994 National Slalom Champion Chris McDonald. Now looking at the slalom, Lisa, as a champion skier, how does this compare to skiing?
Well, I have to confess that when I ski slalom, I tend to like my feet side by side. I don't even know if my hips can do that.
Well, let's watch some of these people do their stuff. There's still more to come on High Adventure TV, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Every year, thousands of babies die from choking, suffocating, or other breathing emergencies. Just imagine how many of them could be saved if only they came with instructions. Please learn American Red Cross Infant and Child CPR. American Red Cross. We help you help others.
There was a time when people helped their neighbors, and together they built a stronger community. This spirit lives on today in NeighborWorks, a unique partnership of local residents, business, and government leaders. NeighborWorks volunteers have rebuilt over 100,000 homes, restoring pride to millions of neighbors. So help a neighbor and a nation. Join NeighborWorks, reversing decline, rebuilding pride.
We're almost out of time, but how about that men's finish, Lisa? A lot going on there today, huh?
That was one of the most exciting finishes I've seen in an inline skate race this summer. But, you know, I was really surprised. Gio Rollerblade made a mistake. John Trevina, he should have gone right, and he went left, and that gave Jimmy Wiederhold the jump.
Yeah, I'm sure John will be thinking about that tonight while he's going to bed. But how about Jason Sepulveda? He went down hard in that hairpin turn. How do you think that affected the outcome?
Oh, it really did. Sepulveda got 5th, even with the fall, which is really phenomenal. I think if he hadn't taken the fall, he would have been up in that lead pack, and, you know, that can really change the face of the race. He is a strong sprinter, too.
Yes, another exciting race today. But it's so long from Bristol, Connecticut, and we'll see you again next week on the High Adventure Inline Series.